So we've done a lot of work. So let's go ahead and check this project back in so that people can start to, people internally that need to use this information or need to be able to see what we're doing design-wise, they can access this information through the vault. So let's check this in. And I'll go ahead and just keep this file checked out. And I'll go ahead and add the information that we've designed. So now that we've got our roadway created and located horizontally and vertically, and we've come to the conclusion that our earthwork calculations are where they need to be, we're going to go ahead and cut some cross sections and throw them in to our model. So I'm going to go ahead and select my sample lines or create my sample lines. And I've got a dialog box that comes up to create sample line groups. And what we can do is check on and off what we want to sample. So there's a lot of information here. I don't necessarily want to see all of it. I do want to see my existing surveyed road. I do want to see my finished grade. So I'm going to go ahead and leave my corridor on also. So this is the corridor. Here's my finished grade at the top. And I'll go ahead and take off the subgrade for right now. We'll go ahead and set our code set style for our corridor so it looks nice. And we'll change our finished grade to a finished ground style. And then it asks me where I want to actually sample. So I'm going to do this in bulk. I'm going to do it by a range of stations. And I'm going to tell it I want to keep a 20-meter width on the left and right swath width. And we're just going to go from the beginning to the end of the horizontal alignment. So I've got an additional sampling that it will take at the start and the end, and I could actually take it even further down at horizontal geometry points. And if we had super elevation, it would give us samplings at the super elevation critical stations. And hit enter, and you can see that it sampled our alignment. Now, we've got it sampling more on the north side than we do the south. So again, we can quickly edit this. So if we go to our sample line group properties and look at our sample lines, you can see I made a mistake. I've got 20 meters on the left and 50 meters on the right. So I'm just going to group select all of the samplings, and I'll change the right offset to 20. Hit apply and OK, and everything is the way we want. Now, if you think about how you generate cross-section sheets the way you're doing it now, I'm going to show you a method to bring these cross-section sheets in, and it will automatically, we'll be able to automatically create our production sheets whenever that time comes. So I'm going to go ahead and create multiple views here of my cross-sections. And we'll just accept the defaults. They're all, we want it to go from the beginning to end. I'll make sure I pick my road section view style. This is the way that the cross section the section view will actually be shown. I'll hit next. We're going to use a production placement style. So it's going to read a template and actually build them as if they're going into your title block. Now, obviously, I don't have a company title block, so we're going to use what is out of the box today. We're going to bring these in at a 1 to 500 scale. And we can just accept the defaults for the rest of this. Hit create section views, and I'll pick up here above my profile, and it will create those section views in this drawing. So from the style, or how I have that built, that's how it's generating the cross sections inside of the sheets. So we could actually go in and modify this to add more sections to one page, and maybe delete the amount of pages or take off one of the pages, like this one particular one here that shows just a page that's got one section view in it. We could adjust this to where these kind of are dispersed a little bit differently. But for today, it'll be fine. So here's our cross sections. This is what we're showing in the section view. So you've got your corridor. We've got our surface, our existing ground surface, and we've got a couple of labels here. We can add labels for the sidewalk, labels for back a curb, station and offset wise. There's a ton of different ways we could label these cross sections. What I want you to understand is that these sections are directly tied to that profile. So if I zoom in to that same area, all right, so that was this area here where the first low point was. And again, this is where our vertical is set right now. So again, I showed you earlier that this vertical, if you grip at it and change, it adjusts the corridor and the vertical elevations and the contours inside of the corridor just from a simple grip edit. Well, what happens to the cross sections now? So that's at about station 0 plus 46 or 0 plus 460. So I'm going to split my screen again. What we'll do is we'll zoom into that same area, but we'll be looking at it in cross-section view. So that's going to be around this area right here. So right now we've got just a little bit of fill, okay, so that I can show you what I'm talking about, and it makes sense. I'm just going to grab the vertical profile and I'm going to move it down inside of my profile view. Now watch the cross-section view there on my right. This is the dynamic functionality of Civil 3D. So that one change in the vertical profile, we don't have to worry about whether it updates the cross sections or not because it's dynamic. It's tied directly to that vertical. So this is being driven from this profile. And we told it as much whenever we generated the cross section views. So again, this also affects our volumes per cross section. So I'll go ahead and move that back up, and it will update all of the cross sections again. I'll go back to a single view here. So now that we've got our cross sections in, let's go ahead and we can start to look at some volumes, some volume calculations. When I say volume calculations, we've pulled an earthwork calculation of where this road sat vertically according to the existing ground. We can get a little bit better idea of how much or what the quantity would be for, say, the pavement by going back to the Analyze tab. And we need to compute some materials. So if we compute materials inside of Civil 3D, we can change our takeoff criteria to a material list. Now it's going to pull this volume from the corridor shape. So this is key whenever you're designing a road to get volume information for your road pavement. There's actually different levels of pavement. So you might have two levels of pavement, one being the top course and one being a base course. Then you've got gravel, so on and so forth. So we're just going to map 3 different corridor shapes today. One will be for the pavement material, and we will pick pave 1. One will be for the base material. We will pick the base, the new road base. This is coming from our assembly. And we will pick the sub base and select OK. Now, once it's through computing materials, we'll be able to drop a table in here that represents which one of those 3 that we want to see. So let's say that it's pave 1 that we want to see. So if I go up to material volume table in the same tab of the ribbon, and I'll just leave most of this default. I just want to be sure that I pick the correct material list, and I can select pavement for my material. I'll select OK, and I'll stick that table right there. Now, that kind of dropped into where we were at here with our cross-section views, and we don't want that to show up. So I can just move those up just by simply grabbing it. And you can see that you have your volume for pavement. Okay, again, what if? There's always what ifs. There's always changes, design changes that come, and they come at a very inopportune time, meaning they come whenever the project is finished. And you might get that review letter that says, we've been looking at the classification of road, and we need a thicker pavement section there. Well, that presents a problem whenever you talk about minimize errors and rework, is we have to now update the pavement thickness and the quantities. Okay, so think about how you've done that in the past. Well, I'm going to zoom back up here to this area right here so you can see the actual table. And on the right side here, I'm going to zoom in, and we've been told that the pavement thickness needs to change from 0.025 meters to 0.05 meters. So I'll hit apply and OK. And what it does, it regenerates that corridor, and this is only for the one side of the lane. We can actually select both lanes and do it at once. But just so you can see that it dynamically updates these tables, After the corridor is regenerated, it gives you new volumes. Okay. I know that if you've ever had this problem in the past of the pavement thickness changing at the last second, which it happens, or maybe the road pavement gets wider, okay, that affects everything. So, if the pavement lanes need to actually get wider, that's going to affect our quantities also. So if I select the two lanes, I right click and I go into the properties dialog box, I can change both of them at the same time. So I can go ahead and say they may need to go from a 6 meter lane to a 7 meter lane. I go ahead and tell it it's a 7 meter width. It adjusts both of the lanes and rebuilds the corridor. All right, you can see that it did. If I zoom back a little. And then if you do a simple regen, it updates the tables, the quantity tables. So again, it not only updated the quantity tables, but we made a change horizontally. So it also updated the corridor. So the corridor itself actually got remodeled to reflect the lane width change. So again, dynamic functionality and the fact that the labeling and everything is updated is a huge thing when I say dynamic.